What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here. What's going on in pop culture right now? I was away, so I missed a bunch of stuff. I picked a really bad time to go away because a lot of stuff came out. Movies, TV, music, news, various accoutrements. And I'm going to catch up. This is going to be the first catch-up podcast. I'm going to have another one coming because there's just too much to get to and too much that I can't neglect. I have to get to it. So I will be getting to everything I want to get to. But for now, this first catch-up pod, I'm going to get into a lot of shit here. XXL Freshman 2023, the list dropped. I'm going to talk about that, of course. Righteous Gemstones Season 3 premiere on HBO. Secret Invasion, the latest Marvel show on Disney+. Asteroid City, the latest Wes Anderson film, is out. And, of course, new music from SHINee and Coi Leray and Peso Pluma. So that's where I'm going to start. And then, of course, stay tuned soon for another pod about Black Mirror and The Bear and some other stuff as well. Make sure you subscribe. Linktree.com/nostalgiapod. Get the pod any way you can. Just make sure you get it. YouTube.com/nostalgiapod. And, of course, see the link below, description below. Follow the playlist for the best songs of the year, updated weekly on Spotify. And yeah, let's get into it. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with my reaction to the XXL Freshman 2023 list. The new XXL Freshman class is out and got to get to it because, of course, I've been predicting who's going to be on the list. I've been doing this for about 7 years. I usually do pretty well with predictions, get about half, sometimes a bit more. Obviously, it's a bit challenging to do, I think, any more than that because hip-hop is so vast. There's so many great candidates. Of course, sometimes people decline to be on the list, etc., etc. Alas, we know who's going to be on the list for 2023. And I got to say, I really like the list. I think it's one of the best in the past few years. But in general, they're always pretty good because there's just so much talent out there, you know? But I'll start with the people that I think made a lot of sense for the list and also happen to be the ones I picked, the ones I got correct. We'll start off, though, with two, I think, notable omissions, snubs. I wouldn't call them snubs because I think they declined. One of those, of course, would be Ice Spice, an obvious pick. It sounds like Ice Spice, due to scheduling conflicts, declined it. I actually hope that's the real reason, and that would suggest that she wanted to do it if she could. Obviously, Ice Spice has been so big with so many hits, so many real top chart, high-end chart toppers at this point that I wouldn't have been shocked if she just straight up didn't want to do it. But nonetheless, she's not here. Armani White also not here. Billie Eilish, big hit for him. He had a great album come out last month. I thought he was kind of a lock. I hope he declined. I hope he's not a snub because I would have liked to see him on here. That being said, the people that I thought should have been on the list that are here are Central C, Glorilla, Lola Brooke, Tia Corinne, Too Rare, and La Tyler. Those are the ones I picked. So that's like 6 out of 12. Pretty happy about that. Central C and Glorilla in particular were like total locks, and I'm happy they accepted. I was kind of worried they might decline. Glorilla, a classic example of someone who blew up right as the last list came out. Didn't make sense to make the list last time, but year comes back around. It's XXL time again. Glorilla has a Grammy nomination. Like, I would not have been shocked if she thought she was above this by now. But she's on there. That's great. Totally just. Shout out Memphis. Also, Central C, the first male UK rapper to make the list. Another one who very well could have made it last year, didn't make it. I actually suggested him in my video for 2022. Nonetheless, he doesn't get picked. Then Doja explodes, a real crossover hit in the United States, rare for a UK rapper. Would not have been shocked if Central C thought he was a bit too big for this now, but he's here, which is great. And I think that's an awesome look for him because he still has, I think, a lot of an audience that he can grow in the United States as a UK artist, obviously. So really happy about those two. And then Lola Brooke, I think that's a great pick. I didn't think she was a lock by any means. She doesn't have a whole lot of music out, but, the Brooklyn rapper, don't play with it. It's absolutely huge. She's arguably among the hottest people in New York right now. So it's a great selection. Also, Tia Corinne from North Carolina. Her song Freaky T is really big. I think that's a really solid pick because she's not quite as, not quite as, like, popping on, like, a national stage. She's not quite as, like, mainstream. I think, obviously, the XXL list, and I got into this a lot with my predictions, the XXL list has a lot of label backing at this point now. It's hard for them to really pick a total unknown. You don't really see that anymore. But I think Tia Corinne is a nice pick. She's not, like, super famous yet. The list probably will do a lot of good for her. La Tyler, that guy's a teenager. He's very new to being a rapper from Florida. And I mean, there's multiple pieces about him, like Stereo Gum and Pitchfork, and the common theme is that he's just like super swagged out. He's like super cool. People love him. Obviously, his song "Backflippin'" was a big hit, and he signed to Atlantic. So I think there's a big future ahead for Lil Tyler. And then the last one I picked was Too Rare, who it's a bit of an interesting pick, because Too Rare is really more of a producer than a rapper. Yeah, this is almost like if you picked Pierre Bourne a few years ago, but Too Rare I think is really significant because he's really kind of helped craft and lead that sound that we saw with Lil Uzi Vert's "I Wanna Rock," one of the biggest rap songs of the last 6 months or so, last year. That kind of like new rage music twist. Too Rare is kind of at the front of that. It's a really nice acknowledgement of that type of hip hop. It's a really, I think, inspired pick. Some people that I picked that didn't make the list, two of them really stand out to me. One would be Mike Dimes from Houston. I absolutely love him. I think he's tremendous. Really surprised he's not here. I hope it was a decline because it's a major snub if not. He's great. Kenny Mason was on the XXL website but didn't get picked. Kenny Mason's a bit older, had a case to make the list several times at this point, hasn't gotten picked. Still a bit disappointing in terms of like a crossover, multi-genre type rapper. All the people I picked who didn't make it: Cash Dami and B Love. And then of course the people that did make it who I didn't select, that would be Finesse 2 Times from Memphis. His song Back End's Gold. He's got several projects out at this point. He's probably the most famous of this group I'm about to go through. He's got a lot of social media attention. Friday with 2 Ys from Philly. I actually like him a lot. He had a great feature on the Armani White album last month. But of course, he has 2 huge features, one of which would be on DJ Khaled's God Did. Of course, the least famous person on that song, but he was there. And also a big feature on the Lil Baby album from last fall. He signed the Def Jam, kind of a more melodic rapper guy. I like him. This is a nice pick because I don't think he's super well known for his own solo songs just yet, but it's a nice, I think, way to catch the come up here. Also, we got Rob 49 from New Orleans. He's got several projects out right now. Signed to Geffen Records, has a big feature on the Dirk album. Nice pick here. Sleazy World Go from Michigan. Several projects out already. He's got his debut album coming this fall. Signed to Island. His big hit's probably Sleazy Flow, which has a Lil Baby remix. Michigan, he's from Grand Rapids. He's not from Flint, but just acknowledging like the Detroit, Flint sub scene in the northern Midwest, obviously super important given how hot and vibrant it still is there. Like it's a great pick for sure. The next 2 kind of surprised me. Real Boss and Richie from Florida, who's got 2 tapes out, and DC the Don from Milwaukee, who's got a few projects out and was actually the 10-spot winner. Definitely would not have seen that coming. The fan vote pick. But in a sense, not super well-known artists, not that they have a ton of streams yet, but that's great for the list to pick people on the rise, pick people that will really benefit from this cosign, this light being shine on them. Obviously with the advent of social media, the discoverability of TikTok, the ability to pursue a career without the major label system behind you, all that's so true. But the XXL list still has a place in terms of helping bring people to a wider audience. And I think in the case of guys like this, DC the Don, Real Boss and Richie, even people like Rob 49, Sleazy World Go, like those are guys that still have a lot of room to grow in their career, and this hopefully will help them along the way. But overall, XXL list, I think it's a good one. Once again, I think in terms of like forecasting ahead of 2024, the only one that really stands out to me is someone who's like popped up in this, this springtime when it was like 2023 list deciding time, would be Sexy Red. I think that one's kind of obvious. So let's hope that she gets picked next year and doesn't completely explode to the point where she says no. We'll see. But obviously, people know Pound Town at this point. So I think she's kind of leading the clubhouse for 2024, and not really sure who else is in the mix yet. I'm not sure if anyone's totally there yet, but we'll see. But let me know, how do you feel about the 2023 list? How would you compare it to the past few years? Who are you looking forward to seeing on the 2024 list? And for more XXL Freshman predictions, I do them every year, as well as rap reviews. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of SHINee's 8th album, Hard. Yes, the K-pop OG second generation K-pop group is back with a full-length record, 10 tracks, 33 minutes. SHINee released an album, 2 years ago, but this is their first like real true convergence post-pandemic and post all the mandatory military service that the 4 members have done. They just recently performed in Korea for the first time since 2016, fall 2016. It's been a minute since SHINee's like really come back in earnest, and they are saying that they have multiple releases on the way. And I like Hard a lot. I think this is a really great, tight listen, and more than anything, is exciting to have a second generation group, a group that just recently celebrated their 15th year anniversary. To have a group like that come out with something so vibrant and so, I don't want to say so fresh, but like so lifelike, like it's we're once again seeing the traditional K-pop convention being stripped away, and older groups can continue to sustain themselves and pursue that second act post the mandatory military service that all Korean males have to pursue. So I think it's just a really exciting thing to get, and also even cooler that SHINee's like, yeah, we're gonna stick around. We're gonna keep going at this and really get back in the mix. How exciting! I think right off the bat with Hard, you have, of course, the title track, Hard, with the music video out. And that is, I think, interesting because that kind of strikes you as like a modern day K-pop banger. SHINee, 15-year-old band. The K-pop they made their name on is not the K-pop you get today. And yet, they do a really good job of making that kind of contemporary K-pop banger. That's pretty cool. It just speaks to their talent. I think lyrically, it's nothing special as a song, but the keys, the catchy hook, it does in fact go hard. And I think in general, the first half of this album goes hard, and I really enjoy the first 5 tracks. I think the synth drop, the second part of the chorus on Hard sounds great. I think that one's a lot of fun. And right after that, you have track 2, Juice, another hard song. I love the horn, I love the fast flows. Anu's high notes sound awesome. In general, like whenever the choral harmony happens with the group, it just sounds so good because they have such strong voices. Track 3, 10 times. Love the bass line on that. That one's kind of fun because it's still really upbeat, but the vocals are a bit understated. And I think, you have the kick drums coming in on the chorus. I think the vibes of that song almost remind me of like a Justin Timberlake song. I think that's really exciting. Track 4, Satellite. That song's all harmony. Love it. That's total bop. The drums really propel that one. Really fun. The next song, Identity. Like bit of a shift production-wise. Kind of really an electropop song, but like the fun chorus once again is there because it's completely harmonized. I love it. And then this point you get like the second half of the album, which is a bit slower. It makes sense that they wouldn't just go balls to the wall for the full release because of course SHINee has made their name on more ballady stuff as well. And I think the feeling, that one has a ballady vibe for sure. Love the piano keys on that, but you also have the drums, a bit of electronic chorus. You could say it's a bit overproduced. It's probably the messiest beat on Hard, but I think like the vocals still complement the song well enough that it's like not a total miss. In general, I think every song on this project is good, at least to some degree, which I think says a lot. Again, especially for a group that's been around a long time, has done a lot. I think the fact that it's something this tight came from a 15-year-old group is really impressive. Like it, looping bass beat is really cool. I don't know if the vocals really stand out on that one though. Sweet Misery and Insomnia, those ones are just okay, but I really enjoyed the closer, Gravity. Just super smooth. Love the kind of like the snaps to the beat, really fun. And yeah, I mean, Key, he's been around doing solo stuff lately, but it's really great to have Taemin back because obviously people know he's one of the, I think, true faces of K-pop. Also really cool to see. This is SHINee's first album to sell 100,000 units in Korea in its first day. That's the first time they've ever done that. Like, that's wild. That 15 years into the career, they're arguably as popular as they've ever been. I think that speaks to, in general, just K-pop's meteoric continued rise in the global culture. But still, shout out SHINee, man. SM Entertainment certainly need a win like this. If you know, you know. So, yeah, I think this one's a total win. Really happy to have SHINee back and looking forward to more. Sounds like we're going to get some soon. But let me know, how'd you feel about SHINee's comeback album, Hard? What was your favorite song? And for more K-pop reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Coi Leray's second album, Coi Leray, rising rap star. has gone through a lot online, critically, populace-wise, and yet I think this is like the victory lap moment for Coi Leray and kind of a validating moment for her career. Really maligned early on, makes XFL Freshman, doesn't acquit herself well in the freestyles, gets a lot of hate. Some of it's just misogynistic hate, but also gets hate for having a famous father and things of that nature. But people are hating, you know? And you get the debut album last year, Trendsetter, which isn't too good. You know, I thought Twin and Them was pretty solid, but otherwise it was just okay. And I think the Coi Leray haters were sitting pretty at that point, right? And yet, and I think an important note about this too, Coi Leray, one of many female rap stars at this point. It's not special to be a female rap star anymore. It's normal, which is awesome, of course. And I think people don't feel the need to hold up anyone anymore because there's so many people to take that spot, take that place. But yet, Coi Leray, to her credit, did not stand idly and really, I think, seized the pop moment with, of course, the lead single to this album, Players. Came out the end of last year. Top 10 hit. People know it. Major TikTok hit. Massive track. And it's a massive track because it is a textbook example of what's going on in pop music right now, which is new pop songs are in fact just old pop songs. This started in rap with stuff like sample drill. It's now present across rap and across pop. Think of the BB Rexa remix of Eiffel 65's Blue with David Guetta, the I'm Blue remix, whatever it's called. Massive track. Think of, there's so many, there's so many stuff, right? Nicki Minaj has a big hit off the same trend. You're seeing it all the time. Coi Leray using Grandmaster Flash The Message as her what's old is now new again twist. Pretty inspired, I have to say. And also, I think The Players is a great song. It's a banger. To have that be our lead-in to the Coi Leray second album, I was like, okay, there's some juice here. Let's see what the kind of album is. And what happened is Coi Leray doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on this trend. And she has so many high-profile samples on Coi, but also to her credit, sounds great. She comes out guns a-blazing on this album and sounds awesome. And when you have these big, A-list, expensive samples the way Coi does, I don't know. It's a pretty good package. I liked Coi quite a bit, and I think it's really cool to see her really take her career in her own hands in this way. You know, whether these songs become massive hits, I'm not too sure, but they're certainly designed to be hits, and I would not be shocked if any of them became hits. Right off the bat, you have track 1, Bitch Girl, which is a clear sampling and interpolation of Hall & Oates' Rich Girl, which is a song that's famously sampled in general. But Coi comes out fire on that one. She goes super hard. Love it. You know, the second single, or sorry, the second single is track 2, Bops, which I think also goes super hard. I love the beat on that one. You have the switch up alongside Coi's flow switch up. That one's great. Then you have track 2, Make My Day, with David Guetta sampling Pump Up the Jam, another huge sample. It just really grabs you. You know, of course, Players that just went into. Then you have My Body, which is, I think, just an okay song, but it's also a big sample. You know, you have It's My Party by Leslie Gore, another massive reference point, you know. Get Loud, the horns, the hand claps, super hard flow. I think a really funny line, like, what was it, like, something, it's on fire, tell that motherfucker Bernie. Love it. You know, that one goes great. Then you have Fuck It with the PH. And what is that sample? None other than Daft Punk's Technologic hook, specifically. But Coi gives you a hard flow once again. Love it, you know. Spend It with Saucy Santana, nice feature. The synth line on that, honestly, gives you some Doja Cat vibes. That the way that song is made. The outro in particular is really catchy. Don't Chat Me Up with Gigs. Definitely a different, like, kind of flow, different, like, inflection, especially on the hook from Coi. And I think the background vocals are nice, but a Gigs feature, UK rapper Gigs, of course, UK OG, definitely didn't see that coming. That's super cool, and I think Gigs fits the song well, surprisingly. You know, then from there, you know, On My Way, slowed down track, weak repetitive hook. Don't really like it. Running Up right after that as well. I think the beat's just kind of weak. This like 2-track like auto-tune stretch I think is definitely the weakest part of Koi. We'll not be going back to those songs. Then of course we have No Angels featuring Lola Brooke. Amazing feature. Lola Brooke's so hot right now. People know it, but don't play with it. I think the song's just okay. I would have liked it to be a bit bigger, even if it's a big collab in theory. But then right after that, you have Man's World with James Brown, because of course it's a big time James Brown sample, but Koi doesn't, fade out. She really grabs that song once again. Black Rose, I think, is pretty interesting because the guitar is super noticeable on that. Basically a rap rock track, we hadn't really heard Koi do that before. Definitely interesting. I think Radioactive with Skillabang, that one's a bit messy and all over the place. I think that song is just a miss, honestly. But Come and Go, the last song, the closer, it's sentimental. Lyrically, I get it, but the auto-tune kind of took me out of it. I don't like that song too much either. But the songs I like on this, I really like. And I think it's just a massive step forward from Coi Leray from just a year ago with Trendsetter. And it's exciting. Now, whether it's a bit gimmicky to rely on these big samples, of course, having your label be able to front you the ability to use such high-profile samples, inherently there's some privilege to that kind of craft. I think that's obvious. But I think Koi sounds good. She goes hard, and she's fun. She just did the BET Awards performance of Players, and she had the names of all these female MCs from the past and present. Really cool homage. Of course, what's the hook? Girls are players too. I think Koi is a really fun artist at this rate, and I think we'd like to see a hit from her that isn't an obvious homage, an obvious sample. That being said, I think we'll take what we have right now, and I'm pretty happy about Koi. But let me know, how'd you feel about Koi? Do you think it's a big step forward for her the way I do? And for more rap reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Peso Pluma's third album, Génesis. Yes, Peso Pluma, absolutely meteoric rise. If you don't know the name, you soon will. Peso Pluma, Mexican artist, has currently only 53 million monthly listeners on Spotify. He only has, a song that peaked at number 4 this year. That, of course, would be Ella Bayal Sola, which was his feature with the band Eslabon Armado. He's got a bunch of other big hits as well. I think Peso Pluma right now has like 10 songs. Sorry, he has 9 songs on the Hot 100 right now before his album came out, including features. This is his first album since this major breakthrough that began last year. And I think Peso Pluma is incredibly significant because of what he represents, the kind of artist he is, and what that says about music in the United States, as well as the overall globalism of music. And I think it's a really exciting thing. Peso Pluma is Mexican. He makes what's called in the United States like regional Mexican music. It's kind of a catch-all term to describe a wide swath of Mexican music genres. And to be clear, I'm not an expert on any of these genres, but Peso Pluma is credited for, being one of the drivers of this new kind of subgenre of Mexican music called corridos tumbados. Corridos itself was its own genre, and corridos tumbados is kind of taking that corridos music, which is, I think, broadly like very acoustic, heavy, very minimal percussion, just to put it simply, gives you a bit of mariachi vibe if you know the sound. Corridos tumbados, though, takes that and kind of updates the production a little bit, giving you some more reggaeton inspiration as well as some hip-hop inspiration. This might sound familiar because it's kind of what we've seen with other Latin artists pushing things forward. Of course, the obvious name to drop here would be Bad Bunny, who is the biggest artist in the world right now. He's doing a very similar thing with the kind of reggaeton and Latin trap music he makes. Peso Pluma pushing corridos music and Mexican music in general, regional Mexican music forward is wild, and hard to say exactly how this breakthrough really came to be. I think a part of it would be the I think general acceptance and mainstream meteoric rise of Latin music in broad strokes, Bad Bunny as well as Rosalia, like you're seeing that, right? Are the algorithms of our streaming services pushing people that really listen to, say, a Bad Bunny or an Anuel AA and saying, hey, you might like this Peso Pluma guy. He's not even from, the Caribbean. He's Mexican, but you might like it. Who knows if that's a big driver of it. But, speaking of the United States, by far, the majority of Latino people in the United States are of Mexican descent. So it's not a surprise that eventually Mexican music would rise above the underbelly of pop music. It's not a shock, but it's here and it's happened. I think Peso Pluma, with Génesis, this is going to be the entry point for the majority of people. And I think it's a nice listen. Again, I'm not an expert on corridos or mariachi or Mexican music at all, but I know a little Spanish, but just listening to it, I think what really stands out is this type of production. And I think it's really nice. Those acoustic guitars, very consistent. The horns go super OD. Trumpets, saxophones, it's awesome. Accordions, it's really cool. And Peso, his charisma as a singer, I think really stands out. That's probably why his features have really blown up on other people's songs, because he really pops as a different voice when he makes music with other people. That's just kind of my guess. But that being said, I think on Génesis, I really enjoyed the horns on the first track, Rosa Pastel. I thought 777 with Eladio Carrion was really good. Let's see. I mean, in general, I think it's really smooth listen. This production, maybe it could feel a bit samey at times, but it's just like a complete vibe the entire time. Like, it's really, really easy to listen to. I thought Gavilan 2 with Tito Double P, the horns go absolutely buck wild on that song. Love it. And then VVS, I love the vocals, the back and forth vocally that Peso does with the guests on that song. Those are the ones that immediately jumped out to me, but overall, I think it's a pretty great listen. 14 songs, 45 minutes. And like I said, if you don't know the name, you soon will, because he's already dominating the charts. And I think this is just the beginning. Peso Pluma, 24 years old. Really cool to see success like this, especially in the United States. Like, I always like talking about the globalism of music, whether it's Afrobeats, whether it's K-pop, whether it's reggaeton, whether it's dembo, we're getting it all kinds at this rate from all over the world. And Peso Pluma, just the latest example. Not like he's super far away from the United States, down in Mexico, but this is something new and for the mainstream, and it's happening, and that's really cool. Let me know, how did you feel about Peso Pluma's Génesis? What's your favorite song? And for more music reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of The Righteous Gemstones Season 3. Yes, the Gemstone Clan is back, HBO comedy series in its third season, from Danny McBride, Jody Hill, David Gordon Green. I think people know at this point, this is a McBride, Green, Hill comedy in the vein of Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals. You know the kind of humor they do. You know how they like to make their shows. And Gemstone Season 3 is just more of that great Gemstone goodness. This shit is fucking funny. It really doesn't get much deeper than that. I would say this, alongside What We Do in the Shadows, are my two favorite comedies that are currently airing on TV. It just makes me laugh all the time. I think a big part of that is just the humor that these characters have, but also the ensemble is incredibly rich. Danny McBride, funny guy. You know that, right? Adam Devine, funny guy as well. You know that. But the true star to me on this series has to be Edie Patterson. Edie Patterson is Judy Gemstone. It's a tour de force performance from her. She's just so funny. The line delivery, the commitment to the jokes is so good. Of course, Adam Devine, really good as Kelvin. I think the way the Kelvin character has been crafted, of course, into this third season, really fun. And Danny McBride as Jesse, maybe a bit more simple, but he just has some of the big laugh out loud moments too. And of course, we still have John Goodman as their dad, Eli, And what's fun about this ensemble is they give other people, a chance to shine. This season, bringing in new characters and having really famous actors play small roles on the series. So you have Steve Zahn as this kind of like uh, militia figure. You have Shea Wiggum as this aging NASCAR driver who wishes to uh, move his donations to a different church because he has lost faith in the Gemstones. It's of course, Walton Goggins in the past. Baby Billy, who I'm sure we'll see recurring on this season as well. Tim Baltz as BJ, Judy's husband, a goldmine of humor whenever they are together. They're so good. Like, there's just a lot, I think, to this show, and the overall theme of the hypocrisy of televangelists and mega churches in general, just lampooning rich people and their poor behavior. That's always consistent and fun to be with on this series. But I think what's fun about Gemstones is that they always find, I think, ways to like kind of organically and genuinely like bridge that story forward. Like, it's super fun that now there's this other family vying for Shea Wiggum's money, and like they seem to be functioning better than the Gemstone siblings. Like that's a great idea. Having Steve Zahn's militia character, bringing in Eli's sister, and her kids. Like, these are all great ideas, Like, even in the greater ensemble, you have Skylar Gisondo as Jesse's son. Like, and he gets to have a lot of fun, I think, as the Eli's new driver, early on in the premiere. Really enjoyable. And I think just, like, overall, it's a show that on its face is simple, but has, I think, like, a lot of, like, genuine, like character moments and like growth that you see like with the progression of these stories. And like I said, bringing in big actors to play small roles. I think you mentioned Stephen Dorff as one of the new characters as well. Like, it's just, I think, like a lot to be with, and it's just a really I think fun show. And I think it's like really awesome that like McBride and Hill and Green, I believe they make this show down south. Like, they're just like so comfortable like making this show and like bringing in their friends to help out, and like it just feels like a type of comedy that's like in full command of like what it is. And of course, thankfully, it's also really funny almost the entire time. So not like a whole lot to really say about Gemstones. Other than that, I think it's still going on all cylinders, and it's an absolute blast. But let me know, how did you feel about Righteous Gemstones start of season 3? And for more comedy reviews, more TV reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Marvel's Secret Invasion, their latest series on Disney Plus, starring Samuel L. Jackson reprising his role as Nick Fury. This is the first Marvel series of the year, a stark and noticeable change from how Marvel used to be moving the past 2 years. We know now that Marvel is certainly slowing things down on the TV front from a quality and creative point of view, but also a desire to not oversaturate. I think that was pretty obvious that when you're getting 4 TV shows a year, 4 movies a year, and it's also not the most fruitful time creatively for Marvel. Definitely, this is the most down bad they've ever been, relatively speaking. It felt like a bit much, So I think it's incredibly noticeable that the first Marvel series has not come out until the end of June this year, and we know that 2 more are on the way: Loki season 2, as well as the Hawkeye spinoff Echo. As of right now, anyway. But Secret Invasion, I think coming off Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 earlier this year, I think Secret, and the Marvels being the last film to come out later in the year, I think Secret Invasion was kind of towards the top of a lot of people's lists as something that could be cool, could be exciting, could be interesting, per Marvel standards, And I certainly felt that way. And, getting Samuel Jackson, one of our great actors, getting him to reprise his role as Nick Fury, and really the meatiest and most substantial amount of screen time he's ever had in the role, sounds good. Add in one of the best casts Marvel's ever assembled, honestly. You have your villain, played by Kingsley Benadir, tremendous actor, loved him One Night in Miami as Malcolm X, he's great. If you don't know, now you know. Of course, Olivia Colman, arguably one of the best actors we have right now, bar none. Amelia Clarke, Ben Mendelsohn, other Marvel faces reprising their roles, like Colby Smulders as Agent Hill, and Martin Freeman as Agent Ross. Pretty good cast, hard not to be like, this sounds cool. Also adapting a really famous and storied comic book run, big crossover in the Marvel Comics on the page. Also bringing in, I think, an interesting like approach to plot where it's like, this seems like it'll be a bit more grounded, thrillery Marvel, Cold War vibes. We're in Moscow in the first episode. Again, take a lot of that with a grain of salt. It's still Marvel at the end of the day, but there are some parts that I was excited about with this. At least it felt like it was going to be something cool. And seeing one episode, I'm going to watch the whole series, but like seeing the first episode, I was just a bit, whelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I think it's probably just a symptom of the larger Marvel malaise that we are in right now, where like just kind of okay Marvel doesn't let anyone speak these days. We've had so much of it. We're in our 30-something movie at this point. This is what, the coming up on 10 series on Disney Plus, right? Like, been a lot. And I think in this case, like, the key crux, and we don't know how this will go yet, but this to me will really determine whether Secret Invasion is a success or failure. It's a 6-episode miniseries, as far as we know at this time. The Skrulls, the Secret Invasion storyline, the Skrulls were impersonating people due to their ability to shapeshift and pretending to be other people and using that to influence politics, war, influence, etc. Right? That needs to really land. I think that needs to be substantial. In the comics, big time A-list characters are revealed to be Skrulls, and because of the way comics work, it was years and years that you had been reading someone who you actually didn't realize was in fact a Skrull. And it's a huge like flip, and it's a really effective comic book storyline because of that. We know who's in the series and we know who's not in the series at this time, Secret Invasion. Finding out people we never met before are Skrulls doesn't matter to anyone. That is not a stake that anyone's invested in. There needs to be a real stake, real stakes to the series. Now, Don Cheadle's Rhodey, War Machine, is in the series as like a military advisor to the president. Are they setting him up to be a Skrull? He's the only character of true significance, apart from, of course, Nick Fury himself, that we know about. It's in the series. So, like, I don't know, like, if this just feels a bit self-contained and a bit small, on one hand, that's something you'd like about a Marvel series, to be its own thing. But I think that part of this Marvel malaise has been that nothing has felt congruent or like it truly mattered in a minute, Sometimes that's fine when it's like an origin movie like Shang-Chi. But other times it's just like a bit meandering like Thor 4, where the Marvel storyline, we just kind of been dragging our feet to the Kang Dynasty Secret Wars build up, if you will. It's not nearly as congruent as everything was with Thanos. So if Secret Invasion is just a bit self-contained, I don't know. I don't know how well that's going to land. Despite the fact that we'll get to see Nick Fury do Nick Fury stuff. That'll be awesome. Olivia Colman seems to be having a great time as the MI6 boss in Russia. Ben Mendelsohn, I love him as Talos just because he's a great actor. He's fun to be with. These two different Skrull factions. You have the good benign ones like Talos. Then you have these more radical Skrulls that want to basically pit world powers against each other on Earth and get back to their homeworld, led by Kingsley Bandir's Gravik. Also in their midst is Talos' daughter, Gaia, played by Emilia Clarke. The setup is there, but I think it just kind of speaks to where we're at with Marvel right now, where you have your doubts, you have your reservations about that execution. I've only seen one episode, so I don't have a lot to go on. The critics have only seen 2, so we don't really know anything. But there's a bit of a familiarity to some of this setup, where with this Skrull group, Gravik Skrulls, refugees, like they're giving me some Falcon and Winter Soldier vibes, to be honest. And I don't know if that's the best compliment, because that is a show that ultimately does not end successfully. So I don't know. Like I want to give it time. Kyle Bradstreet from Mr. Robot's like the runner of this show. There's a lot of talent involved. Obviously, the acting talent went over that, but I don't know. Like, I hope like Nick Fury coming down from Saber, where we realized he was up in space at the end of Captain Marvel. I hope that like matters to the character and like matters to the storytelling. And I like if this is just if this could this be the Nick Fury swan song? Not that they would kill him off, but like could this be like the true last gasp of like meaningful Nick Fury stuff? I hope not. Probably isn't, but we'll see. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Marvel's got to prove it to us again. Guardians 3 being great, I think we give a lot of that credit to James Gunn and the fact that that was like the last vestige of older MCU. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania didn't leave us too excited. I'm going into the Marvels with an open mind, but we'll see. So, yeah, that's Secret Invasion. 5 episodes to go. Let me know, though, how did you feel about Secret Invasion, how you feel about Marvel in general, and for more TV reviews, more Marvel reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. What's up? Welcome back to Nostalgia. Dave here with a review of Wes Anderson's 11th film, Asteroid City. Yes, Wes Anderson back once again, one of the signature American directors of our time. And Wes Anderson has been in the news lately, of course. AI, Wes Anderson on TikTok and the like has been omnipresent, right? And despite all that, I think having a movie like Asteroid City come out from Wes reminds you of just how shallow the kind of AI homages and inspirations that people have taken from Wes have really been. Yes, we know that Wes Anderson's a very particular, specific filmmaker. Part of that is the symmetrical framing that he does and the placement of props, placement of actors. It's all very specific and designed. And of course, the color palette often jumps out at you. That's kind of where the AI stops. That's like kind of all they grab from Wes. And of course, he has a lot more to give than that. To most people, that's an obvious comment, but I think it needs to be said. Asteroid City premiered back at Cannes earlier this year. Just came out, expanded into moderate wide release last weekend, and actually had the biggest box office weekend of Wes Anderson's career with 9 million from 1,675 theaters. A big jump over 2021's The French Dispatch, for example. And it's looking like Asteroid City has a chance to be one of Wes Anderson's bigger hits. I wouldn't say it's going to be as big as Grand Budapest Hotel, which was like a genuine hit movie that he made, but that's still awesome to see a specialty art house film find box office success. We have seen that not be the case ever since movies have been coming out post and during the pandemic. Art house films have struggled to make ground, even the best and most well-reviewed ones. You know, it's been tough. Wes Anderson is a bit of an IP as a person, same way like a Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino is. So if anyone could do it, I suppose it could be him. Great to see that the movie is successful. And I think it's a good film. I think it's a movie that takes a while for you to understand what it's actually about, what it's actually saying. You kind of have to unpack the layers of this movie because it's not as straightforward as some of his other work. And I think criticism of Wes, in recent times during the this later current period we're in with his filmography, that has kind of been a theme where like there's maybe not as much under the hood beyond these really well done, well acted, well shot, very specific stories. In a sense, that's perfectly enough to make, I think, compelling films. And he certainly has made compelling films lately. I enjoyed The French Dispatch. I enjoyed Isle of Dogs. Those are his last 2 films. That being said, Asteroid City has a lot more going on under the hood, and I did not expect that. I think, in a sense, it can be a bit confusing, especially in the beginning of the film, just because it's a bit complicated. Just to kind of put it all out there, Asteroid City is a film that depicts a production of a play, and that play, this framing device, like this play is being shown to you via like a TV documentary with Bryan Cranston's character narrating it, and that part's all in black and white. And then you see like the play being in like film, like in mid creation, and that's all in color, and that's where the majority of our film takes place. But what's really interesting about like this kind of, I think, layered and a bit dense framing device. Like, it's not super complicated, but you got to think about it to wrap your head around what's going on. Is that the actors we see in Asteroid City, us, what we see, these actors are playing two different roles. Jason Schwartzman's character, Scarlett Johansson's character, they're playing both the character in the play as well as the actor playing the character in the play. So we're watching two different performances. And I think it's really interesting, especially with a character like Scarlett Johansson, her character, who plays Midge Campbell. Scarlett Johansson plays an actor. So you're watching an actor play an actor play an actor. And that's, I think, really fun, especially because what that character is about in terms of like wrestling with fame is also something that's incredibly meta, because that's something that Scarlett Johansson knows very well, of course. This kind of stuff. The way the movie ends with Jason Schwartzman's character, Augie. Augie is the character. The actor version of Jason Schwartzman is talking to Margot Robbie, a different actor. And like, they actually kind of talk about like the meaning of art and the meaning of their work as actors, even if they maybe don't know exactly what's fulfilling about what they're doing or what it all means. And it's actually like really about something grander than just the story of the Asteroid City play. That is the focus, of course, of the trailer and the majority of the actual film you see. And that's just interesting, because you don't really we haven't got that from Wes in a minute, I think my favorite aspect about the film is really just kind of being with the Wes of it all, which would be the in color stuff. I appreciate this greater thematic and like this construction stuff that he's got going on. And like, I think it's a really fitting like ending scene. Like the Robbie Schwartzman stuff is really strong, but I have the most fun, I think, with just the Wes stuff, right? So the crux of the film, the filmed in color stuff, is we're in this 1950s desert town that's like built up around this impact crater, from a meteorite, and it's hosting this stargazer convention for a bunch of like children. And you have all these various characters, with the military involved, you have the scientists, you have people attending the convention, all kinds of people passing through town, already in town. As you can imagine, absolutely stacked cast from Wes, probably his most stacked cast ever. You have Jason Schwartzman, and it's interesting because you have both usual suspects from working with Wes, people like Jason Schwartzman, Jeffrey Wright, Tilda Swinton, Bryan Cranston, Edward Norton, Adrian Brody, as well as some new faces like Maya Hawke and Rupert Friend, as well as Tom Hanks and Steve Carell, Scarlett Johansson in her first live action role with Wes, Margot Robbie in her first role with Wes. Small characters, small roles: Matt Dillon, Hong Chow, Willem Dafoe, Tony Revolori, Jeff Goldblum, Hope Davis. Loaded, obviously. And it's just a lot of fun, like doing the stuff in the town, like the West of it all. I think some stuff works better than others, but I think my favorite Jason Schwartzman in a West movie in some time. Obviously, it's not like Rushmore level, but I think it's really fun. Tom Hanks, I think, adds a lot in a nice way. Carell's probably the one newcomer who, like, his character is a bit superfluous and just kind of there for some humor, and like it's fun and all, but it's not super special, I guess you could say. Yeah, I think like if you just kind of sit there and like put the framing device to the side and just sit with like the story of what happens in this desert town with all these characters, I think it's quite enjoyable. There's a part where there's a government quarantine when the alien returns and to Earth and grabs the meteorite in the center of town, and like it's clear this is like Wes's COVID movie. It's kind of an obvious comparison, but it's interesting. I think perhaps the funniest thing of all, the three young kids who are Augie's kids, Schwartzman's kids, these three young girls. And they had some really funny moments with Tom Hanks, because basically these kids are just like unhinged and like acting like the witches in Macbeth. It's fucking hilarious shit, like the way they act, the things they say under their breath, really funny. Love that. In general, I loved all the like the Stargazer award winners. I loved all like the teenage interplay between all of them. It's really fun. Like they play these mind games with each other to evaluate their intellect and stuff. It's all pretty fun. It's all very Wes, and I think this is a movie that really won't turn anyone into a Wes fan who previously wasn't one, but it'll probably, due to this framing device that I've went into, due to its kind of greater ambition as a film prospect, Asteroid City probably will be up there in like the West rankings for some people, just because it's a movie that has a lot more going on than some of his other films, you know. And it's cool that with his 11th film, you know, in his mid-50s, he's finding inspiration to do something he's never done before, even while still doing all the stylistic stuff we come to expect from him that he obviously does so well. So Asteroid City, it's not my favorite Wes movie, but it's a really good one and obviously worth people's time. But let me know, how did you feel about Asteroid City? How would you compare it to some of his recent work? And for more movie reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. All right, that's going to do it for this week. Coming up, I'm going to talk about The Bear Season 2, the return of Black Mirror on Netflix, and at long last, Indiana Jones 5, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, coming out. Also going to do my Emmy nominations predictions. Got a lot of stuff coming up. Going to be a busy summer, so make sure you subscribe. YouTube.com/nostalgiapod, Linktree.com/nostalgiapod. Get the pod any way you can. Just make sure you get it. See the description below for the Spotify playlist, best songs of the year. Let me know it's good, and I'll see you next week.